I'm Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football, where we break down all the goals scored in the Premier League. And today we're doing Leicester against Chelsea. Now, Chelsea are on the rise. If you haven't seen my video, it's coming out about all of the teams building and how you actually structure a team to win in the future and build a core team. Chelsea are doing exactly the right things on this mark. And when you watch that, you'll really understand Chelsea and how they're playing a lot better. But one thing they really do lack, and everyone lacks across this, through the Premier League, is a decent striker that's going to actually create goals by themselves. Like a ball goes up, and Ivan Toney, the ball goes up and he just gets you a goal. And Mo Salah, he can get you a goal. And there's not many of those, not only just in the Premier League, but across the world. And that's a massive, a long discussion. But the reason I'm talking about that is because I want to give some credit here to Jackson, because Jackson just gets slammed all the time, and I'm one of those people that slams him. When he does something amazing up front here, this is where you praise the striker. This is what you want him to do. It's a bit of a hold-up play, some bad defending. And I'm going to show you exactly one of the worst things you can do in centre midfield, or when you're actually defending as a centre-back. This defender does it. But this ball bouncing here, you can see it's kind of an awkward bounce, right? So as it comes in, Jackson kind of bounces. It's above him. He's got no one to really knock it down to. He really can't do anything. But what he does, when I'm coaching, I shout this all the time, and it sounds so wrong. It sounds awful when you say it. Just touch it. Just touch it. It sounds so inappropriate. But, when we mean touch the ball, people, we mean touch the ball. Get your minds out of the gutters. Okay. But that's sometimes the only thing you need to do is just touch the ball. Because what happens then is the momentum of the ball, where you touch it, then they have to deal with it. If you don't touch it, this guy here behind Jackson here gets an easy way to just turn and play the ball and do what he wants. But because he touches it, it changes the trajectory, I can't say that word, of the ball just a little bit. And that's all that's needed here for this, right? So now it's gone past him. Now the defender has to turn and run after it. Now, you've probably heard this when you're being coached or played for years. Play the way you're facing. Now, I totally and utterly yell at people that say that, because that isn't one of the things that you need to think about. You want to face the way you want to play. But in this instance, he needs to play the way he's facing. This guy right now is facing his goalkeeper. The only thing he can really do is knock the ball there into the space and have his goalkeeper deal with it. If he doesn't, he's in all sorts of trouble, because the striker's coming onto him. The ball is kind of an bouncy ball, different to deal with. Right there, bang, he has to knee that, knock that, and get it away from this striker into this space here, and have him deal with it, or his keeper deal with it, depending on how much power he can get onto that ball. If he doesn't, the striker is going to get the better of him, and he kind of does here. Watch this as we move this forward ever so slightly. Boom. He tries to flick the ball. He's facing this way, and he tries to flick the ball behind him over his head. The amount of times I've seen this and had to coach this out of players is unbelievable. These are the things that make you not become a professional player, by doing dumb things like this. But somehow this guy has made him make it through the cracks playing this poorly. When you do things like this, what ends up happening 99 times out of 100, the player that's knocked the ball on and you're trying to flick it over his head, you end up knocking it into his chest and he runs on and scores. I don't know why this guy's thinking that he's can get away with this. That touch should have been straight back, safe into space. Now, it might be that he's not been playing football for 2 weeks, but I don't buy that. You know what? I just do not buy that. That puts him in all sorts of problems from a simple mistake that if your under 14s are making, you're absolutely screaming at them for it. Well, not me, because they don't make that mistake. Right, but as we move this forward just a little, he's got a second bite of the cherry, because now the ball's bounced up inside of him there. Now he can try to do something with it. And what does he do? Tries to do it again. Tries to knock it back over the guy again. It's just terrible defending. But you've got to give Jackson some credit, because one of his skills, one of the things he has been doing well, is harassing, getting forward and putting pressure on people, defenders, and he gets his reward. This goal's all him. From the head of the flick on, the harassing of the defender, just keep fighting. Yeah, the defender plays it like he's 5 and he doesn't know what he's doing. But Jackson gets, oh, look, there we go. Look, he tries to flick it again. All of that pressure has been able for this little pass to set Jackson. Ball bounces back onto Jackson from his teammate, and all he has to do is finish it. Now, here's the interesting part. This is actually quite a hard technical finish on the outside of his foot. Jackson's actually good at it. It's a clean finish. I mean, it's absolutely quality. Put him in a one-on-one 7 times, he'll miss 8. But you give him a hard finish like this. Is his name Darwin Núñez? All of a sudden, he's just boom, outside of the foot, into the far corner. It's a really quality finish. Great little touch to turn around and take down. But it all comes to the defender not doing his job properly, not understanding the situation, not reading the pace of the ball, being able to pass it back to his goalkeeper. Overall, shocking. Let's move on. I'm going to show you a little bit of this defensive play here because I'm going to show you another part in a second where Leicester get it completely wrong. And you need to sort of understand this if you want to learn more about football. Is when obviously Leicester are on the attack here, and they're coming in and they're putting pressure on. Yeah, there's a player there, but watch the defender. This is really good. What they end up doing is, because remember, the space is more dangerous right here than the ball. The ball's too far away from the goal and the space is open. So if he steps in, what he ends up doing is making more space. If he steps towards this player, he makes it so this pass is on easier and this guy has more space. So what you want to do, first priority, is take the space away up to a point, and I'd say until the ball gets to about there, maybe closer, depending on the player that's on the ball and the quality of shot of the player. So as he starts running forward here, you can see, watch, they all start back. He doesn't go towards the ball, but he makes a nice little curved defensive run, enough so he can recover. Brilliant, absolute brilliant. Now that was set up to show you this. Chelsea don't score from this, but this is shocking. Again, the same problem. You've got two players. Okay, there's four running onto you. What's dangerous? The space, not the ball. Why? The ball's too far away. If you commit, you go forward here, you open up more space behind, and there's only one player there. Okay, so does this defender do the right thing and track back a little bit, make this guy run with the ball? Why is that important? Running with the ball is a hard skill, and you can make a mistake. It doesn't mean that you trip over the ball and you lose possession. What it means is the ball goes just a little fraction in front of you, and now we can tackle you. Or you're a little bit slower than the actual recovering player here, and now he can tackle you. That's why you're just dropping off, and you're taking that space away. What does this guy decide to do? Takes a little stop. Oh, look, turns. Do you see that mistake there? It's not a mistake. He's baiting him in. He's knocked the ball just a little bit, so now the defender can think he can win the ball. Clearly, he tries a little stop. There's the space. Watch this now open up as he just steps in, bonk, tips it in, and you can see the space opens up completely and utterly behind him. The defender shouldn't be going nowhere near. Now, these are simple concepts that these defenders should know inside out, backwards, blindfolded. If they're not doing this, that means they are not being trained properly. They really don't understand the simple concepts of when to pressure and when not to pressure. Oh, they might know the intricate concept of how they want to pass the ball out of the back, but basic footballs and techniques that win you football games, they don't understand. You cannot be doing that when you're 2v4 and stepping up. Oh, and by the way, look, if he didn't go in there, look, if he didn't try to poke for that ball, here's the trailing guy. He may have had a foot in. He would have been here. He wouldn't have been able to pass that ball. And maybe they break up this attack and Chelsea don't they should have scored a goal, but they ended up knocking it into each other. Again, this is basic concepts of football, which they aren't taught anymore in the Premier League. Right. So what they're doing is they're sitting back with a defensive block. Okay, great. You've probably heard defensive block or deep block. Right. There's a whole different way of why you're teaching this and why this is important, all right? But the most important thing, if you're trying to do something like this, is have pressure on the ball. Because when you're playing with, well, are they world-class players? Well, yeah, pretty much. They're the best players in, the Premier League. They're not all world-class, Maradona or Messi-type-esque players, but every single one of them can pick out a pass and a cross if you give them time on the ball. And this is what they're doing here. Look at how much space this guy's got. So when the ball goes out here, here's a kiddie. Is he putting any pressure on it? So no, he's dropping back and covering a player here. Right. So what that fundamentally means is their shape is not correct. Their structure is not correct. Why? Okay. They cannot pressure a ball on the outside. They cannot or have the numbers up to leave a man here and have someone pressure. That means 1, 2, 3 midfielders. Don't know what these guys are supposed to be here for, defenders. Something is fundamentally wrong with their team system where they don't have a player here playing as a right back. So this guy can now leave and go over and pressure the ball here. This is the first mistake that you'd be looking at, right? If you're trying to break this down from a Leicester point of view, what have we done wrong to concede this goal? That's not the major thing they've done wrong, but it's the most important thing. Because if you're not doing it right now, how many other points in time in the game have you made this exact same mistake, but this is the only one you've been punished from it, okay? So no pressure on the ball whatsoever. We're going to skip forward a little bit, but remember, this is where this guy picked the ball up, and he's able to just wander through. This guy goes, right, thinking about it now, but he tucks back in a little bit. Everyone else is kind of like, look, this guy's not sure what to do. Is he marking him? Was he coming over to mark him? Well, what's he doing? Don't know what he's doing. It is just a complete shambles here all over. It just looks like Chelsea have got more players on the field than Leicester at this point. And it shouldn't be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, actually, that's wrong. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's not right. Let's just count that again. Okay, that can't be right. They can't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that is 7. Right, I'm not going crazy. Right? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're not counting him because he's on the blind side on the wrong side of the field. They've actually got more players in the attacking phase here than the defence. That's madness. Absolute madness. Right. Now we've basically, remember our little key was here. We've walked. He hasn't run, he's walked to this point here. Now, this is another major mistake right here. The Leicester defender does this weird thing where he thinks if he doesn't look at the football, he can win the football. That's a bit strange, mate. I don't know if anyone's told you. You might want to pay attention and look at the football. But look at the movement. This guy's moved forward here. He's peeled over to here, okay? But yet you've got 1, 2, 3 players still not pressuring the ball, marking a player, or really have any clue what they're doing. That means they've got fundamental problems with their shape and their system. Okay, absolutely massive. You cannot walk from here to here without 3 players doing nothing, no one challenge for the ball or do anything. So when the cross comes in, let's just skip. See, what most people will do, because they won't analyse and look at the game properly, they'll be looking at this first. No. We're looking at the point where it releases from his foot and seeing these 3 stood in a line, no one trying to block, no one close enough to block. Shocking. I mean, there's no words for it. You can't be this bad at the football. Now, if you want to look at the Leicester City player, because we're going to show you from another angle in a sec, where's he looking? He's looking this way at the player, and here's the ball. He can't win the header because he's not even looking at it, right? And also, because you've got these 3 players that have grouped up and clumped up here, it opens up this space here. This guy's going to just jog on in here. He's supposed to be marked by this fella here. He's not. Watch what ends up happening. He's going to get a free header into the net box. As it comes across, bump. Look, it's actually a decent header. It's on target. The keeper's making a save. Remember this guy here? It was a second. He was here goal side. Now, for some reason, is not goal side. So the first person to react is going to be this guy here. And he's going to get himself a goal because you're lazy and you didn't do your job properly. We're looking at that knockdown from the keeper. There it is. Little flick in the air. Actually, it's not a good save from the keeper. He does get it. He knocks it up. And the reason why it's not a good save, yes, he gets it away, but it's up. And when you're putting it up in the air, that means time. The ball has to come back down. Remember, if this guy was still tracking, he could have easily been about here because that's where he was originally. This is where they both were. One ran one way, one ran the other. And that's the massive difference. So there's 1 mistake over the no pressure with all the system and the shape over here. 2 with this defender, which we're going to show you the other angle of not watching. And 3, this player not tracking whatsoever. Just simply, Dumpf gets himself a goal. Let's show you from that reverse angle. So that defender, I can show you, he's got no idea where the ball is. Here we go. We can see, unfortunately, with my boomer technology, I can't really stop it quick enough. But you can see, look, his shoulders are here. He's going this way. The ball's coming in from behind him. And this guy just a simple header on the ball. Yeah, terrible, terrible defending. How are you supposed to actually defend a ball when it's coming into your back? You can't. Shocking. I'll be taking away your breakfast in the morning, pal. So let's get on to the penalty. First off, this is never a penalty, but this is what happens in football quite often. You see this here, it's completely and utter dive. He chops it in, goes inside, doesn't get touched, goes over, tries to get a penalty. But then we get another penalty, which I think is a really, really soft decision. But I think they give it because they don't give this one, right? And this is clearly not a penalty anyway. But when there's so many sort of calls for a penalty, refs just kind of go, oh yeah, but one of them must be. No, there can be no penalties in the game of football. We might get one weekend. I don't think there's been one actually since VAR's come in that we never get a weekend without a single penalty happening. I just don't think it ever happens anymore. So here's the problem with this actually not being a penalty. Right. And this is why VAR and arguing about calls after the fact is so just difficult. Because in real time you go, yeah, or no, and it's okay, whatever. But when you start going back and you can slow it down and we can talk about it for 50 minutes to an hour, you can actually break down pretty much so many decisions. Now, here's the problem with this. Right. He stands on his foot. Does he? Right. As we go, watch. He trips himself up first. Watch. See, he trips himself up first. as he's getting stood on. If he didn't trip himself up, that little touch there wouldn't have been a foul, really, because he would have had his balance. He's injured himself. He's actually fouled himself, and he's been stood on. That isn't enough contact to give a penalty. The reason he's gone down is because he's kicked himself, and that's what's brought him down, not the stand on his foot. So then you have to go, right, yeah, but the stand on the foot's a foul. Is it really? It's not really. He stood on him, kind of. He's only in full motion and gone down because he's tripped himself. So this is the problem where in real time you'll probably go, oh yeah, pen straight away, because you won't see that he's actually tripped himself. But when we can pull it back, take our time, have a cup of tea and talk about it, you start going, well, the first incident is him tripping himself, so that's him going down. So the motion of him going down is already happening. Standing on the foot happens after the motion of him falling, because he's still going to fall over because he's tripped himself up. That's null and void because he's going to fall down anyway, right? So it's really strange. And the other aspect of it is he's nowhere near the football. He's nowhere near the football. So, yeah, okay, have a penalty and score it. I don't really like showing the penalties, but here you go. Have a goal. Bosh, into the net box, bottom corner. Good job. And other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all those things. There's a bunch of links in the description below if you're interested in audio books. And I've had a coaching book out since about 2008, which I'm going to 18. Sorry, I'm going to remodify. And look out for that in the next couple of months. And I'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.